Saga children are born with an insatiable curiosity that drives them to explore their world. Every summer, 8-year-old Saga goes to stay in a cabin by Lake Verrosten in Tono, southern Sweden, with her parents and younger brother. She likes to build sandcastles or look for rocks to skim across the water. She can spend hours doing this and has fun trying to get things to bounce. On July 15th, Saga was playing at the beach with a friend when her dad told her to get a boy from the cabin. The water level in the lake was very shallow and they had to warn any boats that might approach. "I want to go with you," she said. "It's too dangerous." It was the hottest summer Sweden had experienced in over 200 years. Saga waded into the water, and it was very soft on her skin and refreshing even though it was a little bit cold, but not too cold. It was a nice feeling because the sun was shining and she was very hot. Saga's dad was begging her to hurry up so he could return to watching the World Cup final. However, Saga liked to take her time with things and simply ignored him. Saga was crawling along the bottom of the lake, on her arms and knees looking for stones to skim, when suddenly her hand and knee felt something long and hard buried in the clay and sand. She reached down and pulled it out and saw that it was different from the sticks or rocks that she usually finds. One end had a point and the other had a handle. So Saga pointed it to the sky and put her hand on her hip and shouted to her dad that she found a sword. Saga felt like a warrior, but her dad said she looked like Pippi Longstocking. The sword felt rough and hard, and she got some sticky brown rust on her hand from it. Saga's dad took the sword off her and marveled in all of his daughter's discovery. Saga ran over to her mom, grandma, and some of her other relatives who were all sitting outside with coffee and cookies. She yelled, "I found a sword. I found a sword." Saga's dad showed the sword to his family and then to his neighbors whose family had lived in the village for more than 100 years. They said it looked like a Viking sword. Saga's dad didn't get to watch the football in the end. When Saga's dad showed the sword to an archaeologist from the Jönköping Land Museum, the woman said she had goosebumps. She said that it was at least 1,000 years old, possibly between the 5th or 6th century AD, which would mean the sword predates the Viking era by a few hundred years. The archaeologist thought the finding of the sword was sensational. She thought that maybe Saga had found it because of the low water levels. The archaeologist made Saga promise not to tell anyone because they wanted to see if there was anything else buried in the lake and didn't want anyone else to come and take the treasures. Saga did tell one of her best friends, Emmy, and now she knows that she can trust her because she didn't tell anybody except her parents. A month later, and the archaeologists finally returned to search the rest lake, and they found a bro that is as old as Saga's sword and a coin from the 18th century. They think that it was a place of sacrifice. The museum announced the news and that she could finally tell everyone at school. She came back from gym class and the whiteboard said Saga's sword. Her teacher celebrated the day with the party balloons and ice cream. She also played the TV and radio interviews Saga had conducted about the sword for the class. Saga had to give the sword to the museum. Some people on the internet have joked that Saga's discovery makes her the Queen of Sweden because in the legend of King Arthur, he was given a sword by a lady in lake, and that meant he would become king. Some, though, just couldn't get over how perfect the 8-year-old girl's name was for all this. Now, whenever Saga goes swimming in the lake, she has a beady eye looking out to see what else she can find. It feels like that lake might be a little bit magic. Lily, when you think about the average day in the life of a toddler, crayons and cartoons likely come to mind, right? Some kids find cool pebbles and some even a rare coin. One young girl may have blown all discoveries out of the water. 4-year-old Billy Wilder was taking a nature walk with a father on a rocky beach at Bendrix Bay. The Welsh town of Barry in January 2021. Eagle-eyed Lily measures just shy of 4 feet, saw something that immediately captured her eye and showed her dad. What did she? Lily caught a glimpse of an unbelievably well-preserved fossil of a prehistoric creature. The imprint has thought the date back 220 million years and has excited paleontologists worldwide. Experts believe it was created by a 2-footed dinosaur that likely stood about 30 inches tall and was 8.2 feet long. 8 species, one that's not been seen before, is a mystery that set the scientific community alight. Carl James Langford of Archaeology Career hailed Define as the finest impression of a 250-million-year-old dinosaur print found in Britain in a decade. Hendrix Bay is also known for being an important paleontology site housing dinosaur tracks of the tragic period and crocodilian-type reptiles. The little girl's mother says that she's excited about the discovery, but hasn't grasped how amazing it is. The girl and her father took photos of the footprint while at the beach and shared them with the family. The grandmother encouraged them to reach out to local experts for more investigation. It cannot be determined exactly what type of dinosaur left the print, but it is 10 centimeters long and likely to be from a 75-centimeter slender animal, which would have walked on its 2 hind feet and hunted small animals and insects. Specimens found in Bendrix Bay in the past are thought to be from more crocodilian-type reptiles rather than dinosaurs, with the beach being described by the South Wales group of the Geologists Association as the best site in Britain for dinosaur tracks of the Triassic period, after permission was granted by Natural Resources Wales to remove the fossil from the beach legally. The specimen was transported to Ancient Vacomry, the National Museum in Cardiff, where expert paleontologists hope they discovered secrets. They hope by studying it, they will be able to better learn how such dinosaurs actually works. Its spectacular preservation may help scientists establish more about the actual structure of their feet, as the preservation is clear enough to show individual pads and even claw impressions. The museum said Lily and her classmates will be invited for a showing once the COVID-19 pandemic is over, and Lily will be listed as an official finder. Obviously, we don't have all the dinosaur footprints on our doorstep, but there is a wealth of nature local to you if you take the time to really look close enough. If you want to find something truly spectacular, just bring your favorite 4-year-old along as a scout. Alicia. Children love to be outdoors, wandering around climbing trees, picking berries, and collecting pine cones. They enjoy helping to look after the family garden, spend hiking with their parents in the woods, playing in a creek, and walking along a beach looking for. You will probably begin your child's life outdoors by taking her out for little excursions in a stroller or carrying her on your back. Even very young infants absorb the sights and sounds of the outdoors, clouds passing by overhead, the sight and smell of flowers in the garden, the wind rustling the leaves in the trees. All these leave a strong and lasting impression. Whether it is summer, fall, spring, or winter, every season has its own beauty. Kids aren't usually the first people you imagine who would be able to perform an amazing. Certainly, jumping in to save a life in the nick of time is usually something reserved for adults after all. It's easy for children to become injured themselves, and no child should be placed in a difficult or dangerous situation. If we can help it in rural Lower Indiana, USA, there isn't much for young kids to do besides play outdoors. At least that's how 9-year-old Alicia sees it. Most days you could find her roaming around on the expansive property that a family owned, and she loved playing bow in the grass. And one day she found something that she couldn't believe. Just after breakfast, Alicia went to play outside when she heard something rustling away in the bushes. What was it? Alicia's family owned 2 pigs, and when Alicia saw tiny pink limbs flailing in the underbrush, she wondered if they had given birth overnight. So she decided to get a little bit closer and investigate. All the while, however, something just didn't feel right. When Alicia finally got close, she realized that this wasn't a piglet or any farm animal at all. It was something entirely different. Can you guess what it was? Alicia discovered a tiny newborn human baby. She raced across the garden and into her home to tell her mother exactly what she had found. Alicia led her mother out of the garden and showed her what she found. The baby was clearly no more than a few hours old. In fact, the umbilical cord was tied tight around its neck and the placenta was still. Alicia's mother frantically contacted the local authorities, who rushed to the scene. Thankfully, other than a little bit of sunburn, the baby was in perfect health. Nevertheless, authorities stressed that this story could have had a very different and very tragic ending. Thankfully, because of Alicia, that didn't happen after that. It was placed with a foster home until its mother could be identified and located for questioning. Thanks to Alicia's quick thinking and her mother's help, this baby was given a second shot at. To think none of this likely would have happened if she hadn't taken charge and understood the urgency of the situation. It's amazing what even the youngest among us is capable of doing when it comes to saving the life of another. Alicia is proof that even kids are capable of taking charge and saving the day. What Alicia did is guaranteed to leave you smiling from ear to ear. Her parents are so lucky to have such a wonderful little girl. What is something your child discovered that shocked you? Tell us in the comments below. We love hearing what you have to say. Thanks for. See you next time.